I'll send you guys the recording as well. All right, cool. So let's get started. I'll go through, I know you guys asked some questions. I wanted to jump into those questions because that's really what this mentorship call is all about. It's just the reason why I decided to do this, and just a little bit of backstory about myself, if I didn't share with some of you guys already. So, I started my product management career, way back when I was in Johnson & Johnson. And so when I started, school, I studied computer engineering. And, my trajectory was like IT, right? I studied computer engineering. I did some jobs here and there, all about servers and databases and all this stuff. So I started my path in my career in IT. And I realized over time, I didn't really love it, right? I love, what I was doing. I chose Johnson & Johnson specifically because it was aligned with my values. And I'll talk about values later, but it aligned with my values. And one of those values was just health and fitness, right? So I loved where I was, but I didn't love what I was doing, right? The career. And there was a team at Johnson & Johnson that was building stuff. They were building apps and websites for our consumer products team and our internal teams. And I absolutely fell in love. I made the conscious decision to just absorb and learn from those people as much as I could, right? I didn't have a title of product, per se, but I found opportunities at the company where I could do product related things, right? And it was after that where I decided I wanted to make the jump into product management. And I made that jump because of how much joy building products gave me, right? I absolutely was fascinated with computers when I was young. I actually had an old Macintosh, the ones that, the Macintosh 2, I think it was. So I had one of those and I absolutely loved it. And I also loved art. I was in this like gifted art program actually when I was younger, and I never really knew how I could combine the two. And kind of product, it was like, for me, a great way to bridge those two together. And so I decided that, I wanted to go into product management, and I naturally started looking for opportunities, looking for jobs. And it was so hard. I kid you. It was like the hardest thing I've ever had to go through, because again, I had this like these years of experience in IT and technology that weren't, transferable. And so I got rejection after rejection. And, it wasn't until I realized some of the tricks that I'm about to share with you guys that it really, yes, it comes down to, a lot of people will say, oh, I don't have a title, I don't have an experience, I don't have all this stuff, right? And I get that. Not a lot of us don't. But if you can somehow mold these past experiences that you have into a story that people can resonate, that you check that box, right? The second is being able to show people that you can do the job, right? And that's done through just putting, in my mind, kind of building up your little portfolio of product, either that's product intuition or product knowledge, product insights or whatever, right? Building up something to show people, requirements docs, whatever. And then the third is just literally being able to serve people, right? Being able to give more than you are receiving, right? So with those three things, I actually ended up getting my first product management job at Lightmaker, which was a digital agency. I crafted, a story around why I, was meant to be a product manager, why I had this passion, this deep desire to be a product manager, right? I pulled from my technology background, I pulled from my design background, and I also pulled from my projects, right? I pulled all these things together and I crafted a really well-defined story. And then I also did a product audit, which I know I've shared with some of you guys already. And a product audit is a way to showcase, basically, like if you were a product manager right now at that company, right? What would you do, right? Wear that product manager hat and pick a product and actually just tear it apart, right? Look at the users, look at the product itself, and really just say, okay, how do I make this product even better? And put together something, whether it's a requirements doc or something to show the recruiters or whatever that you have the skills, right? So I did that. And then the third thing that I did was I essentially, came to them with my 30, 60, 90-day plan. And with those three things, it was very hard for someone to, after I realized all these things, right? It was really hard for the recruiting team to say no, right? It literally, it was they gave me the job on the spot, and I was absolutely thrilled, right? I was finally doing what I was meant to be doing, and from that, I've just ever since that that's what I've been doing as my secret, my teachings really of how I think anyone can really get into product management is honing in on your story, honing in on your product skills and your intuition and the belief that you are already where you want to be. And then the third is just having that plan and being able to just give them something. Let's say, you didn't get the job, at least they can now become better off and you've helped them, right? I think that's the part that a lot of people don't really realize, is that when you come at a place of service, at a place of giving, rather than just wanting and receiving, you actually get back more, right? So that's kind of my story of like how I got started. I'll share a couple more stories, throughout your questions about how I got to Disney and how I'm at the startup right now and everything like that. But first I'll go into questions, and then I'm gonna state the question that you guys asked in your invite. And then also, if you don't mind, just, giving a quick intro of yourself, right? So that way everyone knows and we can kind of go from there. So why don't we get started with, I just had it here. Give me 1 second, guys, sorry. Clear. All right, let's start with you, George. Your question was, what are your favorite product practice problem websites? What skills from other roles should be highlighted when applying for product roles? Communication skills, leadership, data analysis are a few that I can think of. Have you seen people hired for APM roles at a new company without any previous product experience? Okay, cool. Good questions. Just a little bit about yourself so that we all know who you are.
Sure. Yeah. First off, thanks for reaching out initially, Rich. Really kind of excited to hear what you have to say. My name is George. I've got a pretty broad range of prior experience. I started in the technology field probably about 5 years ago now, but my education background is in anthropology and biology, so no real education, computer science or engineering background. I sort of worked my way up through customer support. I also have experience in sales, and now I'm in a quality engineering role. So I do have a fairly technical skill set at this point. It's the quality engineering role in my company is pretty focused on front-end code, back-end code, database analysis, as well as automating testing frameworks. So I've sort of, to be honest, over the last few years, I've known or been pretty sure that product is something I wanted to go into, and have been sort of trying to gain a broad range of these skills to set myself up for that. And at this point, I'm working on kind of building that story that you're talking about, as far as why I think I can be a good product manager and why it kind of calls to me. And as far as those questions go, yeah, so the last few months especially, I've been starting to refocus and look more at APM roles, and some of that refocusing involves really getting my brain to think in a way that a product manager would think, and understanding the processes and strategies one would use to analyze products and marketplaces and things like that. So looking at practice questions from interviews, and trying to understand how I can prove to a hiring manager that I can do the job, because I personally, one has to have confidence. I think I can do the job, and I just need to work out how to prove that in a short amount of time, and initially via a resume or a cover letter, right? Because I don't have a chance to talk to somebody right off the bat. Nobody does really,
Yeah.
unless you're super lucky and you have connections.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, that's where I'm coming from. And I think already it's been helpful to hear about that product audit.
Yeah.
So thanks.
Well, I'll talk a little bit about some of the things that I've done and just some pointers, right? So to kind of answer your first question, what are your favorite practice problems for websites and all that stuff? Yeah. So I know when I was looking to get into the product space for Disney and for mostly for Disney, I was really curious about the book Decode and Conquer, I think it is. It's a book that, has a ton of interview questions that usually a product manager would have to go through. I recommend that book if you want to get a sense of just product questions. I'll send a link as well to just some of my answers, because I always think that like it's always sometimes daunting to say, oh, can I actually do this? And when you actually see other people's responses, it kind of gives you a little bit more motivation. Like, okay, I kind of see this, and you kind of build your own as well. So I'll send some of my actual answers, so you can also use that. But one of the things that I would always recommend is, regardless of the interview questions, I think what you have to do is build up that product intuition. And yes, the product audit is one way, but another great way is just being able to just go on a site or go on any place, right? And just appreciate the product, right? And what do I mean by that? There's usually, people build products to solve problems, right? If you're doing it well, you're solving a problem and it actually works. And a lot of times what I do is I actually, as I'm going through my own, problem of some sort, right? If I have something to do, like a job, right? I've used the jobs to be done theory a lot. If you haven't heard about that, definitely recommend it. I think I talked about it in my AMA. But normally when I have some sort of job to do, like I need to sign up for a credit card, right? Because I need extra credit or something, right? So what do? I go to the website and I go to the form and through the process, right? But every time I go through that, I almost take a step back, because I know that on the other side, there was a product manager who built that site. And they essentially, and they also had a team of developers, they had a team of designers, and they're basically providing you an experience that is trying to be as fast and as accurate as possible. And so what do? I always, whenever I'm usually going through flows or anything like a product experience, I always take some sort of screenshot of an experience that I truly loved, right? Or an experience that I truly hated. I just take a ton of screenshots, because what you're doing when you're doing this is you're, in a way, you're kind of, you're appreciating a bit more of the products that are out there in the world. And then you can actually use this in your interviews and with other people, right? You can say like, oh, here's a flow or an experience that I truly, truly loved, right? And so as a product manager for you guys, I would, I think I would do something very similar to this, right? Sometimes these product managers that are at these companies, they don't have maybe the time or the bandwidth to actually do some of this market research or see some of the newer products out there, right? Another one, and I'm gonna just do a quick screen share so you guys can see. I like to be very just interactive and live and very live that way. So Product Hunt, I think I might have recommended it. You guys know Product Hunt? Oh, not that. Yes, if you don't, I recommend, this is actually one of my, sometimes some people go to check the news, in the mornings. Like I actually go on Product Hunt in the mornings usually, and just check out what are some of the new products out there, right? And just look and see what's out there, and just kind of say like, why is this one getting so much upvoting, right? Who knows? Maybe it's an actual great product. It's solving a great need, right? I recommend that that's something you do, is like to build up that intuition of just like product skills. Do that, right? And I mean, you can do this for like, let's say you find the right company, right? You know, you want to work for Hulu, or you want to work for, you know, whatever, whoever, right? You can do this same exact experience of like, okay, this is the product experience that exists today. I'm going through it. I'm taking screenshots. I'm you know, making comments, like build up that experience. Cool. And another one, page flows is a great way to just know and see a lot of different people's flows, right? A lot of other companies have already addressed common problems in terms of how to get a user from one point to another point. And that's a great way to also just learn, right? Just learn from other products, learn and appreciate. I might be crazy, but I always like look at products as a work of art, right? You have various teams coming together to build and create something that didn't exist before. And in a way, it is art. It's an art that combines people's skills. So really, really take that lens of like your product and what you're building is beautiful. It's an art. And so look at other people, see how they're addressing, you know, the common things, see what you like, see what you don't like. And at the end of the day, I always believe that it's about what are you doing to get the user or the person to their actual end goal and as fast and as accurate as possible. If you can do that better than your competitors, then you know that you're going to have a product that's going to always be, it's going to be a winning product for sure. Cool. I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm probably talking too much, so I'll go a little bit faster. The other question.
That was helpful. Thanks.
Yeah. Another question you had: what skills from other roles should be highlighted when applying for a product role? So are you asking specifically on your resume?
I think so. I think, and maybe I've been going about this from the wrong direction, and I think I'm starting to realize that I probably have, but I've been sort of highlighting skills that I've excelled at in my prior roles as ones that would make me a good product manager, which I'm starting to think maybe that's not the right way to do it. But for instance, you know, written and verbal communication skills highlighted from leading a team of technical support reps, and also from working as a quality engineer, working with engineers, designers, marketing associates, people like that. And I was wondering if you have thoughts on that, because I know, I mean, it seems like a lot of product managers come from an engineering background, and I don't know, I guess thinking about.
I'll give you my quick answer. So the resume, and this is like one of the things like I always never really like about the process of getting into into a job, where you create a resume and that resume then gets vetted by people, and then, you know, that's how you get the interview. I never really liked that because, like you said, normally a lot of people, what they'll end up doing is just put their experience but they never get through, right? The way you get through is essentially like using this like very similar words that is on the job description, right? Coming from a person who I interview tons of people at Disney, at my current job right now, you know, we create the job description because you want to find someone who fits that role, right? Obviously that's the job description. And so what do? You naturally look for a lot of the keywords that you actually created in the job description in the resume. So you say, okay, I need someone who's got analytics. I need someone who's got communication, blah, blah, blah. And so you, like, your mind, our minds naturally look for those words on the resume, whether it's that we're hiring, whether it's the tools that are sifting through things. Like that's the world that we're in right now, right? And there's a lot of technology that does a lot of that pattern matching of, you know, at Disney, actually, I worked in search, and I worked in conversational AI, and is basically using natural language processing to understand text and assess, you know, what are some similarities between, you know, this word and that word. And so there's all this technology. And so if your resume doesn't have any of that, you're never going to get through, right? Like, I'm just being brutally honest, right? So what do I do, or what do I recommend people do? I actually recommend you guys look at the actual job description itself and really kind of craft your resume based off the job description. Meaning, if they say, you know, I need someone who has Google Analytics background, then go learn Google Analytics and then put it on your resume, right? Because that's literally the keywords they're looking for. If they don't see that, then it's you have a lower chance of kind of getting through, right? And that's, again, I never really liked that whole interview process, because let's say you've never had those experiences, you never put on your resume, you're just not in. So I always like to, I like to find back doors, essentially. So one back door of, instead of just, I mean, you can send your resume. Everyone's going to need their resume. That's fine. But another way to see or show that you are capable is by just the product audit that I recommended, right? And, you know, and connecting with people at that company, so that way they can see your skills. Because when you look at a piece of paper that just has a bunch of words, I mean, literally anyone could just write that, and it could be like the greatest person, but they have none of those skills. So you got through the first gate, but you don't even have any of the skills, then, you know, what good is that? So I always say, try to find ways to actually show people that you know these things, right? And one way is a product audit. Another is just being able to, you know, recommend certain improvements, right, to the product that you're interviewing for, you know, and include that, maybe connect with someone on LinkedIn that works with the company, just say, like, as a form of thank you, you know, I love your product, I'm a fan, as a form of thank you, you know, thanking you, I just created something, I want to make this product better for you guys, or I want you guys to make a better product, so here's my, you know, feedback or suggestions, you know, take it if you will, if you don't, you know, it's fine. And by the way, I'm very interested in potentially working with you guys. Something like that, right? Like, that's another way of kind of bypassing the whole resume thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
And then, have you seen people hired for APM roles at a new company without any previous product experience?
Yeah,
So
I'll give you a quick just background on that. I mean, obviously, it sounds like you yourself were hired as a PM at a company where you were already working without product management experience. I think I've sort of thought for a while that, excuse me, the best way to do it is sort of to show your skills in a current company and then hope that a job opens up in product and be able to move in there, because you've already worked with a bunch of the people that, you know, would be hiring, and they already know you, right?
yeah,
So I've been on this product job grind for a little while and starting to wonder, does it actually happen? So
yeah.
that's sort of the background to that
I
question.
see. Yeah, no, it does. It does. And it happens for those who, like I said, have a strong, compelling reason of why they want to work. Like, look, there's normally, like, I get it, the interview process or the actual getting just, you know, considered is hard itself, right? And that's where being able to craft your resume, you know, with the right words, that should help, right? Like a tool that here, let me just share my screen. A tool, I think I might have shared it in your session, Nimet and Note, but if I didn't, then you guys are in luck. I recommended this tool to one of my friends, and he actually ended up getting a job at Google. So it looks like it actually worked. So JobScan, have you heard of JobScan?
No.
So what it does is, it's just, you know, it's a free tool. You can pay for more, but you know, you don't have to. What you can do is you can upload your resume or paste your resume content, and then paste your job description, and then basically get an assessment of how likely your resume would actually get through with that, you know, content for that job description, right? So try it. I recommend it. It you know, it actually points out the words that are highlighted or heavily used in the job description, and says, like, okay, you only use one of those words. Try finding, you know, and then the job description has it like listed 10 times, right? So maybe try bumping up the use of that word more in your resume, right? It uses, you know, some, natural language processing and just like pattern matching, really, to give you an assessment to boost your chances. Cool.
That's really cool. Thanks.
Awesome. Stop sharing. Okay. And then, so yes, it is possible, right? So first get you through the past the interview process. And then once you're there, then it comes down to your story, right? How can you convince someone? How can you really bring your enthusiasm? Like I always say, once you're past that, it really comes down to, communication, showing your skills, and the culture. Like how much of a fit are you for that company? And that all comes with building a really compelling story of how your purpose, your values, your past experiences all align with that company, right? Like for me, when I was trying to get a job at Disney, I was just, in fact, I love Disney, right? Like I love the movies, I love going to the parks. I'm a Disney-phile, and I brought that to the interview, right? And the reason why I got the job at Disney was because, the the recruiter, she actually reached out to me on LinkedIn. I always keep my LinkedIn up to date. I always use, again, keywords are very important, especially for recruiters who are trying to find people. So if you don't have your LinkedIn updated with the same keywords as your resume or the job description, do that for sure. The recruiter reached out to me. It was Disney. I was like, oh my God, like this is awesome. So I sent her my resume, she got me a first interview and I didn't get it, right? By the product manager role. Didn't get it, got rejected. Second one, oh, we found someone already. Third one, you're not qualified. But the fourth one, I got it. And the reason why the recruiter stuck with me, right? She actively wanted me to work for Disney was because of that 30-minute, or I think it was 15-minute call that she had with me. In those 15 minutes, I was able to share my story, share why I would be, I would love to work for Disney and what I would do for Disney and I would help Disney. And so she saw the communication, she saw the skills, and she saw the culture fit. And she made it her kind of mission to help me get myself into the company. So I credit her a lot for helping and pushing, but I also know that it was those three things. So once you're in, do those three things, work on your story, on your why and how it relates to the company, and then also work on your communication skills. Bring that enthusiasm, bring a strong personality that, attracts people to you. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. All right. That was a lot, but hopefully valuable. Let's go to the next one. And next one, let's see. Let's go. It's Ashley. Your question was best practices for new PMs, both from process and stakeholder alignment perspectives. Quick intro for yourself and then maybe a little explanation of the question.
Yeah, sure. So my background, I didn't have, a technical background. So at school I studied business, had a computer science minor, and then went into consulting, and then went into a product strategy analytics role. So it's more like a combination of like business sense and analytics capability. Yeah. And then just move into the PM role, so like transfer from the product strategy role. And I guess the background of this question is more around like, so I've been reading a lot of like product articles and just understanding what's like the process for doing the job, because like right now there aren't a lot of like really senior PMs in my company to sort of look up to or to like directly learn from. So just want to, I guess, get more outside perspective on like what would be things that a new PM should focus on to develop that skill set.
Yes. Awesome. So just to clarify, you are a PM right now, right? Mm-hmm. Yes. Awesome. So congratulations, by the way, because I know, we have some folks who are not, but you are, so that's good, right? And maybe you can also help your fellow peers here who aren't as well to share some of your insights as well. So what can you do, some best practices? Well, I always say, yes, continue, these articles. I mean, product school alone, they have tons of information that's actually where I got a lot of my knowledge from. When I was starting and I was a product analyst in the beginning, my first job as a digital agency, right? It was, fun. It was hip. It was, we had all these cool things. It was very demanding, right? It was, we had to move fast, very, very fast. It was almost like a startup, because if you've ever, I mean, anyone's ever worked at, agency life or service life, you have tons of clients and they're very demanding. And so what I did is I had to learn fast. And so I went to product school. I devoured some of those books and resources. They have a ton. And I think they actually recently released one that I think, let me share my screen. Are you guys on? Let me share. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Mhm.
So if you haven't seen it yet, I think check out Product School. I know I recently, I think I recently liked it. It was a comment. I think it was a comment by Carlos, who is the CEO. How do I see it? I'll have to find it. But he recently posted somewhere where, actually, let me just go to the site, Product School Resources. They have, here we go, free resource. Like, they have tons and tons of just, free, obviously is always nice. And everyone is very pushing towards learning. And that's one of the things I always do, is push towards learning. And so here you can see some of their free resources. They've recently launched, a lot of stuff here that you can tap into. If you haven't checked out these books, check those out. Podcasts, right? Like, I always believe that, if you don't have people in your company that you can look up to, there's other people that you can just constantly listen and feed your mind with, right? I tend to consider those my, like, Avengers level peer group. And if you saw my webinar that I did, actually the YouTube video or whatever, I think I did that 6 months ago. But I always say that it's important to develop or to come up with your Avengers level peer group, right? These are like superheroes that have a skill set in one or many areas. And, maybe you don't know them per se, but you can just feed your mind with their insight, right? From podcasts and just go deep, right? Like, if you like a person, just keep going and listening and getting more information and learning, right? That's a great way to keep going. And I definitely recommend Product School. I mean, I'm not in any way affiliated with Product School. I'm an advocate for the things that have helped me. And that's why I'm giving back to Product School. That's why I've done these talks. That's why I did the AMA, and I'm using the Product School platform to just say, hey guys, like, I want to help. I want to help too. So definitely recommend, just the resources here. And then, on the non-product school side, because I do advocate other types of learning, right? Being very good at product is important, but I also think you have to be just very good at life, like, and now is a great time, I think, for all of us to reflect and kind of say, like, what is it that we are doing right now? What do we love? What do we don't love? Where do I want to be in the next 5-10 years? How are my finances? How are my, fitness and family and all these other areas? How am I doing in all these other areas? Because a lot of times we just get so focused on career and we forget the other stuff that is important. It's all about life, right? Having life balance. And for that, I get a lot of my, my specific inspiration and my Avengers level peer group from Mind Valley. If you haven't heard of them, highly recommend you guys check them, check these guys out. They have tons of just content, podcasts, blogs, YouTube videos. It's all about in the personal development space. And they really focus on these other areas, like, how to better learn, how to biohack yourself, fitness, right? And it just become a better, well-rounded person, I think, is also going to help in your product skills and in your career, because you just become more balanced. And that's what I've experienced at the company, the digital agency that I was at. I did not have balance at all. I was just all in on product, and in a way it was, yes, it was a great way to learn fast, but I also, ended up ruining my health. I ruined my, my relationships. And so I don't want that either. Like, I don't want you to go down just the path of like only product and that's it. No, nothing else, I think you also need to have that balance. And that's what I've done now. I mean, I'm at a startup right now, and it's, obviously very demanding. We're fast paced and everything, but I don't let that, distract me from the fact that I'm, there's a bigger life and what I'm doing in my career is just one part of it. And ultimately I know that I find fulfillment from helping, from my family, my friends, and exposing myself to new experiences. Right. So if you're into that type of thing, personal development, I always think that people should always be improving themselves in other areas besides just career. And this is I recommend these guys for sure. I learned a lot from them.
Thank you.
Cool. All right. Next we have, who do we have next? Ezekiel. Hey, Ezekiel. You're coming to us from Africa, man. Man, that's awesome. Thank you. Are you there, Ezekiel?
Good afternoon.
What time is it over
Yeah, I
there?
can hear you. Good afternoon.
Yeah.
It's around 4:40 p.m.
PM. Okay. So it's not terrible for you. Awesome. Well, thank you for calling in from, or zooming in from Africa, Lagos, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Your question was, what would you like to discuss? Learn more about PM and entrepreneurship development. Oh, I like it. Okay. Give us a quick background of yourself and also just elaborate more on the question. And you're the one that you asked.
Okay, so thanks for reaching out. I'm also very grateful. And yeah, I'm learning a lot and from everybody's experience right here. So I technically have a background just like you also. I have a major in computer science and also a major in computer engineering. And for a while, I've been into software development as a programmer. And I've always, worked with teams in building products, building solutions. Then after a while, I tend to have more interest more in product than actually writing code. So I tend to see how a product can actually create value for people or solve problems. I started thinking about marketing, value proposition, and the like, rather than more of algorithms or logic. So that is how my transitioning actually happened from being a software engineer to being a product manager. So it started by first having the opportunity to, manage a project. So I was first given the task of one of my previous companies to manage a project. And from there, I saw that this was interesting and I liked it. And from the idea of planning, initializing, and bringing an idea from the mind to the market, and it was pretty awesome. So right now, I serve as a technical PM for an enterprise software as a service solution company here in Lagos. And what we do is we build software as a service solution for enterprises, including banks, hospitals, and the like. And it has been an interesting journey so far in seeing how you are behind a product, managing a product, and you ship it out there, and tons of people are using it, and they're maintaining it, and you're keeping upgrades and versioning of each of those products. So it has been a very interesting, even challenging journey. So my question has been also, I also love the idea of startups, entrepreneurship, because I've through research and through working at different startups, because I've basically worked at different startups, I've seen how ideas become products, then from product becomes a company. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. How you have an idea of of a problem, of a solution to a problem, and you do all the necessary market analysis, market research, development, building, testing, and the likes, and it becomes a product. Then from a product, it becomes a complaint. You have to start offering different solutions to that. So that is where I actually see myself also, having this PM career journey to actually dive more into startups because personally I have a couple of ideas I would like to bring out to solve. And basically, this experience will definitely help me to, test ideas, build it, get feedback from customers, from users, and keep progressing on it. Then products can become complaints, like different startups on its own, solving different problems or having different market values. So, and also I've basically seen people online or like follow people in terms of the transition from being a product manager to being a CEO. An example is Sundar Pichai of Google. So when he came in as a PM for a product at Google, then after that he became a CEO kind of thing because it's more of like having executive control over product, and that's what a PM does basically. Before you can now have like an executive control over a company, understanding the business part of it, the engineering part of it, the marketing side of things, and the likes. So I just wanted to shed more light on that career journey and the things required, you know, attain such career plan or height along the way.
Yeah. Yeah, no. So thank you for your question, and thank you again for joining from Africa. That's super cool. So I'm going to share a couple things because in a way I think we're very similar, right? And maybe some of you guys are also very similar to this. So one of the reasons why I love product management so much is because it's like a training ground for anyone who wants to be an entrepreneur, right? It is the best training ground for anyone who wants to be an entrepreneur because of what you just said, right? There are so many skills as an entrepreneur that you need that product management is just, you're doing, right? On a day-to-day basis. You are understanding your users, your market, and you're having to find solutions to address those problems, right? You're working with teams, development teams, design teams, marketing teams, sales teams, right? To create this product that's going to solve and serve and add value. And then at the end of the day, you're going to launch this product and you're going to market it. And those are all things that entrepreneurs do, right? And what they're doing though is that they're doing it on a bigger scale, and they are the ones themselves who are making the big decisions. And those decisions, if done well, can lead to big upsides, right? Company IPO, just maybe the wealth of, or the freedom of not having to worry about that kind of stuff, right? For whatever your reason is for being an entrepreneur, I think being a PM is a great way, right? And I actually, to be honest, and again, true story here, I decided to leave Disney and go into a startup because I want to learn from the startup culture, and so that I can actually end up doing my own thing, right? I actually turned down three, by the way, three director level positions just in the span of like 6 months, right? Not 6 months, but when I first left Disney, they offered me a director level job. I said, and that to keep me to stay, right? I was a manager, I was managing a team, and they said, hey, we'll make you a director. And it was really, really tough because when I was starting off when I started Disney, actually, on my like 30, 60, 90, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, like 4 year plan. Like I actually do this, right? And I recommend you guys do this, is actually set and write it down, like where you want to see, like where you want to be, right? In the next 6 months, year, 2 years, whatever. And I told myself I wanted to be a director in 5 years. Gave myself 5 years. I put it there. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I said I put it there. And it was on there, and I really wanted to. And I aspired. I became, I went from a product, just a regular product manager, senior product manager, to then managing a team. And then, I got promoted to being a manager, and then I got this opportunity to be a director, right? And I turned it down. And I turned it down because I wanted to fulfill this purpose of my own, my own purpose of helping and unlocking people's gifts. And also just, I want to be be building my own company. And And that's why I left, and that's why I'm at InStride right now. InStride is a company that is transforming the way education works and the way it's provided to employees of big companies. And so I'm learning a lot, and now I'm at this point where it's like, wow, I've learned a ton, you know, and I have these problems that I want to solve. I'm gonna go do it now, right? And so I'm doing it. I'm actually on the side of working at a startup. I am building companies, and I'm starting, and that's why like I want to help, you know, people with that mindset as well, because it is very exciting, especially because now I know all of the skills from product management, right? I know how to understand the users. I understand how to do market research. I understand all of this stuff. And so building a company in a way has been a little bit easier if I had just gone and, you know, just done it. You know, I had no product skills. So what would I say? What are some advice? I mean, if anyone is looking to build a company, you know, I think the beginning is of your product management career, you kind of have to assess, like, where do you want to go? Do you want to work for a company, or do you want, like, for the, you know, for the next 5, 10, whatever years, right? Do you want to be a director? Do you want to be, like, really put down where you want to go? And if you're happy and you feel fulfilled, you know, at that company, being a director, being a VP, maybe being the CEO eventually, but working your way up the corporate ladder, by all means, do that. And there's ways to do that, right? And I can share some of those as well that I've done, right? And how I got to that. If you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to, you know, build a company and manage a team and be, you know, doing that because of whatever reasons, then okay, good. Write that down as well, right? But really figure out why. And then also when you have these ideas as an entrepreneur, again, when it comes to product management, I think it's always important to remember you're building products for people. You're not building products for yourself. I mean, sometimes you are building products for yourself because you have a problem and you are a person, right? But I think sometimes a lot of people will just build a solution and then search for a problem. And that's not the way that it works, right? At least a way that is successful. I'm sure it can work, but what I've found is that when you have an actual problem and you know it and you believe it and you are pained by it, right? And your desire is to solve that problem, right? And whatever means possible. And you do that through building a product, then you know that you're on the right track, right? And then companies fail all the time because, again, they build a solution and they're like, okay, let's go find people, right? It's like, no, find the people, listen to the people. What is it that they have problems with? What are the, you know, pain points? Get all of that insight, right? It's the product management skills, right? Know your users, know what their pain points are, know the number of steps that it takes for them to go from one point to the other point, right? If we go from one point in their wherever, right, to complete the job, right? How many steps? This is job theories, by the way, your jobs to be done theory. And then also how accurate is it for them to get from here to there, right? Are they going off of this like weird tangent line and then coming back here? Right? If they are, then you build a product that gets them like just going in a straighter line and it goes from here to here faster, and it's doing it faster than your competitors, then you know you have a winning product, right? So I'm saying all this because I really just I asked, or I think I challenge you all to really kind of think deep. Like, some of you are starting your career, some of you are in your career already, but really kind of say, like, where do I want to go, or where do I want to be in the next, you know, 3, 5, 10 years? And then when you have that, put it down, right? I have actually here, I'll share with you guys something. Let me share my screen. Share. You guys see my screen? I think I shared this with you, Nimet and Vinod, but I'm gonna share with the other folks as well because I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
So I put together, in a way, a timeline a template version of it is in a text of, you know, kind of where I want to see, where I want to be in the next 10 years, right? And this is like the aspirational dream, the vision I have for myself. And I've done it for the different areas of my life, family, finance, fitness, you know, all that stuff. And in here, I've put together just kind of like, I've written it down. I recommend you guys to do the same. Write down where you want to be, where you want to go. Be very, you know, just keep adding to this. And in a way, this will start to be the thing that pulls you towards the ultimate goal of where you want to be. Put together an action plan. You know, and I can share this again as a template, right? As a text template. And then if you're a real nerd like me, you'll create a Trello board or like Nimit, because he's also done this too. And you'll create a Trello board that is, you know, in a way like your 10-year vision, right? Or your, you know, your, your 2020 vision. And just reflect and just like look and say, okay, how am I getting there? Am I every day, right? Am I getting closer to this, right? And you focus on, let's say, you know, 2020. Put together some action in your place where you're saying, okay, what am I going to do this month? What am I going to do next month? Like really, really focus on all of this, right? So I actually have multiple boards. I have one for my 10-year, my 20-year, or I'm sorry, my 2020 roadmap, and then just on a day-to-day basis, my productivity like board of like what I need to do and watch and for later and stuff like that, right? So, you know, this will kind of also bring some of the product skills that you normally do on a day-to-day basis where you're moving, you're prioritizing, and you're doing all that stuff, right? So recommend that you guys do something similar, whether it's for your career in, you know, in product management or your entrepreneurial goals or just life in general. Like definitely recommend that. Is that cool?
Yes.
Awesome. Thanks, Ezekiel. All right. Next.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. And I'll share those links, by the way, so you guys can use it. Everything that I'm sharing with you guys today is literally going to be given to you in an email. I'm going to try to, you know, I have all these tabs here open for me, so that I'm going to send them and I'm going to include them for you guys. Cool. All right. Next, we have Rafael, who's coming to us also from a different country, from Sao Paulo, from Brazil, right?
Yeah, Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Nice. Welcome. Thank you. All right.
Thank you for.
Yeah. No worries. So your question or your discussion point was product management, step-by-step, real cases. And I see we're at 9 o'clock, so we have 30 minutes. So hopefully we can still get through everything. Okay. Product management, step-by-step, real cases, important daily skills for peak performance, people management and conflict solving, and then differences between working in a small company and big company. Oh, okay, good. All right, tell us about yourself and you know, a little bit, elaborate more on these questions.
Okay, cool. So my name is Rafael. As you said, I live in Sao Paulo, Brazil. I don't have a technical background as most of us guys here. So I majored in languages and literature first, and then I went to advertisement when I went to start working on agencies as a copywriter. And I became a project manager in one of these agencies. And next I took a product management role in a startup, a mobile game startup here in Brazil called Fantasy. And one of the things that resonates me with what you said to George about, you know, the passion, love, and Disney. When I went to work with this mobile game startup, one of the things that they took for most of it for my career and my understanding of the market was games. So I used to play games all the time when I was young, and I knew all the video games and so on. They could see the passion in my eyes when I joined them. So just to make a link of it. And then I went to work as a product owner in a fintech here in Brazil that is a SaaS and works with many companies here on the back end of the companies, putting cloud computing into payment systems. And to summarize what I asked you, I know that's a lot of technical and small questions, But one of the things that resonates with me that you start talking is the imposter syndrome, right? That sometimes you know you can do it or you believe you can do it, but you have never showed them you don't have the numbers, and you see some other guys working as a PM, and you just think, am I as good as him? Is he doing something that I'm not? Can I present myself to someone as a doer, as someone who can achieve anything they ask for? And sometimes, you know, little lies here and there to make up for some deficiencies that you might have on your resume or your career. And I guess most of my doubts resonates with this. How can we make sure that we can deliver things that we're saying and also believe in ourselves? You know, I've worked with a mobile game that has more than 26 million downloads around the world, had 6 languages, won prizes, were on the #1 app ranking in App Store in more than 10 countries. So beats WhatsApp, Facebook, and so on. So I pretty much have it all together inside of me. Like I can demonstrate these in numbers, but sometimes we don't just believe in ourselves to present the work that we can do. So that's the main thing that I would like to talk.
Got it. Yeah, that is I mean, imposter syndrome, man. I can talk to you a lot about that. Just a personal story. You know, when I was younger, I actually wanted to be a professional soccer player. That was my dream. I come from a family. My parents are actually from Paraguay, so very close to Brazil. And yeah, and my dad played soccer, or football as the world knows it, but soccer for us, right? Um, you know, my dad played soccer, my uncles played soccer. You know, soccer was just in our blood, in our family, and I was very good actually. I got to the point where, you know, in my high school years, I was one of the only freshmen, actually the only 15-year-old to make our varsity team, like the high school team, the varsity team with like the seniors and the older folks, right? Because I was like really good. But when I got there, I froze. I wasn't as good anymore, right? Because I had all these other guys who were older than me and they've been playing, you know, I mean, but I was just as good as them. And I actually ended up, you know, kind of not playing as well, you know, as before. And I always tell people that actually that was the dream that my first dream that ever just escaped me, right? And it was so hard because I put all that energy and thought into it. And so I made the decision. When I turned 18, when I got to college, and I actually didn't get the opportunity to really play at the level I wanted to, you know, I made a decision. I said, I'm going to change. I'm never going to let my dreams escape me again. Right. Because I let that pain really just sink in. And so I say all this because, you know, now I'm a product manager and I've used that as the fuel, right. To kind of say, like, I'm not going to let anything stop me. Right. I'm not going to let anything stop me get to where I want to go. And it's hard, I know, because, you know, we all believe that we're imposters in a way. And so some of the tactics that I've done to reinforce that, number one is just by, you know, rewiring the way you think, right? I think a lot of us feel the way we do because of our experiences, our past, and, you know, we kind of, like for me, the reason why I was not as strong in my mindset was because of the lack of confidence that I had in myself, right? And that kind of stemmed from my dyslexia. I am dyslexic, and it's hard for me to read and write fast and well. But through some rewiring techniques that I've done over the years, I've been able to just kind of believe more in myself, right? So what do I mean by rewiring tactics? Well, on YouTube, I'm going to share my screen. On YouTube, there's a bunch of really, really powerful videos that help anyone, really. I mean, it's all free content. You just have to go and look for it and find it. The purpose of, you know, finding, you know, content that helps you. So let me go to my playlist. And where is it? Rewire. You can see I do a lot of lists in different
Yeah.
areas. Uh, Rewire, I think this one. So there's this one, like just finding playlist of so guiding meditation, morning rewire. And actually the morning is the best way. So just a side note, again, this is not really product related, but that's one of the things like I want to share is that some of the stuff I'm going to share is products. Some of the stuff is just like life. All right. Because I think if you get better at life, you can do products like just amazing. And in the morning is the best way. One of the things I've learned is that in the mornings, so our subconscious just kind of runs, like we're always sometimes on autopilot. We do things we don't naturally just, we just run on autopilot, right? And it's because of the different habits that we've done over and over and over. And the morning and right before you go to sleep is the best time to actually reset or rewire those subconscious thinkings. So in the morning, I always try to listen to something to help me rewire that imposter syndrome that I used to have, whether that's like some of this stuff, right? Just motivational content or things about other people, like success stories, speeches, things like that. Those are all really good to listen to in the morning, and then also really good to listen to in right before you go to sleep, right? And there's science behind this. There's actually your brain goes into a theta state. So there's beta is when your brain is active. Alpha is when you're kind of you're in a calm, creative state. Theta is like that state right before going to sleep, but you're very, very susceptible to learning. And then delta is when you're going to sleep and you're like very just not conscious. So I recommend you also look into like, the mind and really think about like, how do you rewire that thinking? Because imposter syndrome, it's going to come to you in anything, in multiple things of life, right? Not just product. It's going to come to you in your maybe family and your finance. And so the moment that you start, and this happened to me, the moment that I rewired my thinking, I became more confident, right? The goals and the dreams became more real, and they started to happen because I believed more in themselves and in them, right? So like, for example, one goal that I've had was I want to start a company, right? And it was like so far out. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but because I wrote it down, I did my rewiring techniques and all this stuff. And because I've seen and I've heard all these people talk about, how to do it, I started to do it and it happened, right? So now I have 2 businesses. I'm working on a third, but those 2 are actually helping towards just, building my expertise in entrepreneurship, right? So I'll send you some of these links so that way you also can help rewire your thinking.
Cool, man. Thanks a lot. Just another one quick point is it's about passion. We were talking about that, and I left my job like a month ago because of some ethical problems. I didn't agree with a lot of things that were happening, and I started doing interviews, and I did like 8 or 10 interviews. Some of them offer me more money to do things that I really don't want to do. Some of them offer me less money for things that I wish I could do, but then the interview didn't went so well. And some interviews, you can feel like right in the first 5 minutes if you're up or down on the interview. You can see if they want, they need you in the company to help them get their job done, or if they just want someone and you're not like really what they are looking for, but you can often do the job. So every time I went to an interview, I felt that in one way or another. So you can sense that by the kind of questions they ask and how they look at you and how they smile and in their eyes and all those things. So these 2 key points, like in the interview when you're up or when you're down, and also the passion when I'll work for money for 10 years from now, and then I'll do what I love, or I just try to find something I love and not make so much money. And how can I familiarize with that?
Yeah, no, you said it very, very well. Passion is so powerful. And if you can bring that to the interview, and if you feel it from the other people, right? Because it also has to be mutual. If they're not bringing to it, if they're bringing the passion, then maybe it's not worth it, right? So definitely a good way to end it. Awesome. Thank you. All right. We also have, let's see, Vamsi coming to us
Yes.
from Calcutta. Oh, wow.
I'm from Hyderabad.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Time zone here.
I mean, that's, yeah.
But Asia, that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
your question here says, I would like to know what are the things to learn for aspiring product managers. Okay, awesome. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
so I have overall 9 experience working as a customer success management and also project manager. So right now I was working as a senior system engineer in a company, and I am learning product management to shift my career. Because when I was working with as a customer success manager, I have you know known about the product management and the skills that they do to design a product. So then I took some time, and right now I started working on learning this platform. So I would like to know more, more things about what it would do, what it would be like, you know, uh, for learning as a product manager, and what is the best approach to start someone with, you know, this career background.
Got it. So some of the things that I shared will hopefully help you already, right? Some of the things that I shared prior to this, I'll keep adding to this because I think for aspiring product managers, I put myself into your shoes again, in my old shoes of, I was just trying to get started, and I just needed a shot. If someone gives me a shot, then I can show everyone, I can prove to everyone, right? I would I'm going to continue to harp on this, and I think it's really important. Again, it comes down to how are you showing up? How are you bringing yourself to this, to the interviews, or to, it comes down to being creative in how you get people's attention, right? So let me share another tactic or strategy I think that's helped. So, a lot of people will, again, send resumes and then they'll just wait, right? Wait, and just see, like, okay, maybe they'll reach out to me. But why wait, right? Go find the people that's already work for that company, or talk to actual users of the product, right? Maybe you're not a user of the product. Go find people that are users of the product. I don't want to say pretend. Imagine yourself as the product manager at that company, and what would you do, right? As a product manager at that company, I know that I would go talk to people who are the users, and I would get their feedback, and I would learn. I would say, what do you like, what do you don't like, right? And I would put together like a list of things that need to be worked on, right? I would also connect, and then as you're coming up with that list, right, come up with your own solutions to how you would address those problems, right? Or how you make it better. Also, go on LinkedIn. I mean, LinkedIn is I always say LinkedIn and is like a gold mine of just information, right? So I'm going to share my screen again. And I'm going to go on LinkedIn. All right, this is something that I think I shared with some of you guys before, or maybe not. And I guess I am biased because I come from a search background, so I know like how powerful search is. But your search results are your best friend, right? So if you're looking to work for a company, let's say Hulu, you see all the jobs, that's great, but then you also see the people, right? Who are the people that work there, right? And see how you can connect with these people. And it's not just like, hey, I want to connect, I'm looking to work at the company. No. You gotta stand out, right? These people, especially some of these, I'm sure they get tons of, just lots of messages, or just, maybe they're not even checking, but what can you do to stand out? What can you offer to stand out, right? So number one, first is make sure and see, like, do you actually have anyone in your network that already is connected with these people, right? And if you do, reach out to that person, ask for an introduction, and that will instantly make that connection a little bit easier, right? So that's just, I think 101, tap into your network, see if there's anyone already, and ask for an introduction, right? Do a favor for that person who's going to give the introduction. So that's not just like a, just for them, right? Or just for you, sorry. Give something back to them, like whether it's your time for something else, or give them a connection or a referral, whatever, right? It's always think about wins. What's the win for you and what's the win for them? That's number one. Number two, when you actually do have that connection or you're trying to connect with someone, what kind of value can you provide them, right? So if you're looking and I would say maybe the right people, recruiters are probably going to get a lot of attention. So you can try recruiters. I would go for product managers, right? Let's see. Boom. Product manager at Hulu. These should be the people that you're going to try to connect with, right? These are and especially if they're in your area, right? And try to find, and if they're not, then I know like with this pandemic, it's kind of hard. We're not going to meet in person, but even if it's a connection and you're sharing something of value to them, right? So let's just try something. So I'm doing this live. So Mike Mooney, he's a product manager in Hulu. He lives in Santa Monica, California. Graduate of political science. Okay. You can see he's been there for 3 years. He's kind of worked his way up, right? And before that, intern. Maybe you went to the same school, right? Okay. So basically, by looking at this person, you kind of get a sense of who they are, right? So one way of connecting with someone is through the art of just, understanding or seeing something about their background and being able to relate, right? That's one way. Another way, I think a really more powerful way, especially if you're looking for product managers, is to give them something of value that is related to the space that they're in. So if they're a product manager at Hulu, maybe you do a product audit. And I've been talking about this product audit and I've been showing you guys. I'll just show you. I've been doing a couple for different people. Here's like a template version, right? But it could be very simple, right? So I always like to do like a technology check. I use built with. I mentioned that in my AMA. I like to kind of just assess if it's a smaller company, like how they're doing on Google. Brand search. This is another really interesting way, just checking their broken links. I did this with, if you guys know of Jay Shetty or Tom Bilyeu, they are, people in the personal development world. And I'd audit their site. I'd look at their broken links. I put together like a document. I said, hey, I'm a big fan. I don't want you guys to lose any money or any traffic. And I saw some of these broken links. Just wanted to help you guys out. And here's how you should solve it. I knew that their site was on WordPress. So for example, like I'll show you real time. So if I go to jshetty.me, so I have a couple, you can tell I have a lot of Chrome extensions. I can send a link to those as well if you want, and how I use them. But this is actually kind of like a fun thing to do. Like I actually do this. This is maybe it can be fun for you as a way to learn like the new technologies out there. But I always like, whenever I go to a website, this mostly works for websites. I always like to look at what's the technology stack. How is it running, right? In this case, they're using WordPress and they're using Google Analytics, Crazy Egg. They have, Google Tag Manager, YouTube, all that stuff, right? And this is all just based off of the code on the actual site itself. And this is just a Chrome extension. And so what I did was, like I said, okay, I took Jay Shetty's website, I ran it through a broken link test link right here, broken link check. Ran it, found some broken links. I just, I found them. I said, hey, here's the broken links. And oh, by the way, because you're using WordPress, here's some extensions that you could use to make it better, right? And I don't think I have it in this version. Actually, let me see. I think I have it in. No. Product audit. There we go. So I did a full breakdown. And this is something you can do. Again, if you're trying to get yourself in, like this is I mean, if you find this fun, then product management is probably good for you. Because I found this to be very fun, right? I just like to see and take screenshots and capture and here's, so I did a technology check. I told him how good his stuff is. I told him how his brand is going. And then, oh, look, oh no, 13 links are leading to broken experiences. And I said it to them, and I said, hey, and that actually ended up being a conversation. I got to meet Jay Shetty. I'm in his mentorship program now, right? Again, like this stuff happens because you're giving, you're helping, right? So I highly recommend, I go back to the LinkedIn example, find people at that company. If that's where you want to work, find people, give them something of value that can help them. Don't just be all about you, give them something. And, and then that's how things can turn into other things. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thanks about that.
Great.
So apart from this, like, if there are something, being as a product manager to start with, like something like perform something like competitive analysis or comparing, couple of companies to do what is the best information that you can gather and capture. Is there any other tool for that, or any other,
Yeah.
anything that helps the product management or product manager to get access and get the information?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, I'll share some of my Chrome extensions one more time. So I use a couple Chrome extensions. Another one I use is Similar Web. This is a great tool to see. Jay Shetty might not be that good of an example. I'll go to Hulu. And this is mostly helpful. Actually, Similar Web is applicable to, oh my gosh, this is the problem. You have too many too many Chrome extensions. They're always telling you stuff. So I'll know now. Similar Web, it gives you insights this is estimations into traffic and performance of that kind, right? So like this is like your competitive analysis tools, right? To kind of see, oh, how's Hulu comparing to maybe Netflix, right? So you can see here, I mean, it's not surprising, but they've gotten a recent bump in their visits over time per month, right? So this actually, Similar Web is a tool that I use a lot. I use it for both web and app. They have it, if I go to Similar Web. Have you heard of Similar Web?
No.
Yeah, very, very powerful tool, gives you insights. So if you wanted to see Hulu, there's the Hulu app too. And I think they give you some insights there too. They don't have it yet. So it's obviously limited, right? Especially for free. If you're trying to get anything for free, it's always sometimes limited, right? It was to pay to get more. Similar Web. I mean, I've become. Let's see what other tools I have. I use, so I have this one, which is a keywords tool. This is to understand, search. So if I go to like Google. No, if I just like do a search for Jay Shetty, let's just do that. I think it's still gonna run. It might have turned it off. Yeah, there's, I mean, I would say it just really depends on what you want to do, right? So what I can do is I can send you my Chrome extension list, so you can kind of say, oh, okay, I could use this. As you can see, I have a lot, and you know, that's a good start, I would say. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Cool.
So,
So, oh, yes.
I mean, should I add something else? Is it fine, or do we are running out of time?
I want to get to everyone, so let me,
Okay,
at the end, if we have time, we'll keep going.
sure.
And go from there. So, all right, cool. So thank you. Let's see who else. I saw Irma had to leave. I'm so sorry that we didn't get your question, but I'll send you the recording so you can take this after. All right. Henry, are you on?
Yep.
All right, Henry, what's up, man? Coming to us from East Coast. Staying safe, I hope.
Yeah. Tough
Yeah.
times.
It's tough. I know. Stay inside, man. That's it. All right. So
Yeah.
you're asking here, transitioning into PM with a decent understanding of the field, but without much hands-on experience. Best way to build up a PM portfolio, and best way to network. Okay, cool. So tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into these questions.
Yeah. So I'm gonna start my video just because I think it's much better to have face to face, especially in times like this. A little bit about myself. So I'm a software consultant right now. I'm still very early on in my career, so I just graduated college not long ago, about 6 months ago. So I graduated from Duke with a econ and CS major. And even though it's kind of early in my career, I feel like I've already tried a lot of things. So I came initially from finance, and then I transitioned into tech background, so doing software engineering. And the reason why I eventually kind of fall into PM is I went to this kind of boot camp / internship program actually in South Africa. And it just turned out to be one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had, and fell in love with the process of, discovering customers, driving business through vision, all that good stuff. Yeah. So I actually ended up recruiting for PM, and I knew it's tough, but I think I still kind of underestimated how competitive this market is, especially as a fresh college graduate. So yeah, I'm in this kind of software / consulting role right now. But yeah, I'm looking to transition into PM eventually, and accomplish that dream that I had. Got
it. Awesome. So that's South Africa. You said South Africa, right?
Yeah.
How did you get this? Like, what was?
So it's actually it's a program called iExperience, and it's this program that's for U.S. college students. But they run the program in different cities around the world. So it's kind of a study abroad program, but also it's very much focused on professional development, and also every program has like an internship component to it. So yeah, I actually ended up helping a data science startup build their product for about 2 months. Yeah, and it was just like, it was almost like unreal, because South Africa is just such a beautiful country, and we were in Cape Town, and also we were doing all these like fun stuff. And also, yeah, definitely found my passion there.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I definitely recommend, I mean, traveling, you kind of had it all, right? Being able to be in a different culture, immersing yourself with that, learning, like that's one of the ways that I've always found myself to advance, is to be able to, immerse myself in other cultures, right? I think I'm very grateful for this, right? That I my parents are from Paraguay. I grew up speaking Spanish. I've been to Paraguay. I've been to places in South America. I've seen some extreme poverty, and I've seen how things are in other places, but I've also seen extreme wealth in other places, right? And
Yeah.
having, I think as a product person, that is probably one of the best, another, I don't, not the best, right? But another great skill or perspective to have is different worldly views, right? Being able to put yourself into the shoes of these people, right? And obviously being able to talk to them is one, but also if you're not there, how do you just remember and kind of remind yourself? So awesome that you did that. So to your question about, you know, transitioning into PM and not much hands-on experience and what's the best way to build a PM portfolio and the best way to network. So yeah, hopefully some of those, what I shared before is helpful or has been helpful to add a little bit more to that. I mean, I kind of see, yes, nowadays, I mean, product management is competitive. I mean, number 4, I think, and then Glassdoor's top jobs in the US, I think it is. And there's a lot of product management roles, and a lot of people are very protective of their products, right? They want the right people to be there. And I think similar to how a designer would have a portfolio, it definitely puts you on an edge when you can share something, right? And this is probably just my own experience, my own background and my own experience, but I always find that when I share something, and I'm not just talking, right? But when I share and I show you guys like something, you have more, you give more trust and more credibility to like what I've done, right? Is that fair statement? Like me showing you, like I could have just told you that, oh yeah, I have a vision board, I have all this stuff, right? But I went in and I was like, oh no, here's my life goals. Like I put energy into this, right? I'm not joking when I say I do this stuff. That speaks more volumes than me just talking to you, right? So your PM portfolio should be a collection of, you know, for you, it could be a collection of, you know, whether it's like your screenshots of things that you've captured, right? Amazing product experiences that you love, or it can be a notebook of like just problems that you're seeing, right? It could be user testimonials of other users for that product, right? Anything really that can just like you can show someone, especially a hiring manager or recruiter, that shows that you'd be a great fit for the team, is a great way to stand out, right? And those are like, when you can, I always say, like, I kind of joke around, but I always say, like, if you've done already like half the work, you know, of like a product manager would do, like then the recruiter or the hiring manager would be like dumb enough. I mean, not dumb, but it's the wrong word. It would be not very smart for them to hire you if you've already done a lot of this, right? It's like, you know, so I think adding to that. So here's my recommendation. If you really want to work for a company, right? I tell people this, what are the 3 companies perhaps that you really, really want to work for, right? If that's where you want to learn and build yourself, what are the 3 companies you want to work for, and figure out why, right? Like write down exactly why. A lot of people will try to just go everywhere, and that's fine, right? But I always say go pick the 3 and push hard in those 3, because odds are you'll put more love and passion into it as opposed to going 10 wide, right? Pick 3, figure out why, and then imagine, again, like I said, I'm going to reiterate this. Imagine yourself as a product manager and do the things that a product manager would do right now, right? Right now we're in the coronavirus period, right? So there's tons of people who are like, well, how can I capitalize? How can I use this opportunity? Where can we make a better, like show them your skills. Like, what would you do to help during this pandemic, right? And that will show them that like that you want to be on the team, that they will want you because you're thinking about those things, right? It's not just about you. It's about it's about the company. It's about the users. It's about, a lot of other people, and share that with people. And as far as networking goes, building, the best way to network, doing this, right? I think you being in the product school and, reaching out and being a part of this mentorship program and a part of just multiple programs like this is a way for you to Yes, network. And I think now is the best time to network because everyone just wants to connect again, right? Like we're all home and we're not doing anything. And like, let's connect, right? And find ways. So, and it has to be win-win again, right? Like what can you offer people to help them as well, right? I think connection and networking is definitely an art, right? And the ones who do it well, I mean, obviously sales guys, this all they're doing is networking, connecting, networking, but they've mastered the art of storytelling. They mastered the art of, what's in it for me, what's in it for you. And yeah, just giving people value. And sometimes even it could be so small. Like I'm telling you, someone, maybe they're a friend, right? They're nothing to you in a way, but to another person, they're like, oh my God, you have a friend who works here. Like how can you connect me? Right. And small things like that really help to bridge your friend to another opportunity and that other person to a new opportunity. And now you've become the matchmaker and you're the one who gets the credit too. Now it's like, that's a triple win, right? So that's also a really great way to go about it.
Yeah. Thanks so much. That was definitely very helpful. Sorry, I know we're kind of running over time, but just one quick question, because I know my questions were kind of broad. So about the storytelling skill, I think that's actually super important. And I actually think that's one of the reasons my initial PM recruiting didn't really get through was because I think I thought I had all the pieces, but I wasn't telling a compelling story. Yep. So is there any suggestions you have for, just how to build that skill?
Yes, I do. And I will share it as I'll package it up. I mean, I'll simplify by saying that it really does come down to knowing the elements of a story, of a good story, right? Beginning, middle, end. And sometimes the best stories are the hero stories. I love superheroes. I mean, I'm a huge Marvel fan, and there's actually a model. There's a framework of how to create a very good story, a hero story. There's like the rising, or there's like there's actually elements to that. So I recommend I'll send you some stuff that I have, but I recommend just understanding how people make stories. Like how is it that Disney is always on top with their entertainment? It's because they know how to create stories, right? Learn from these other people that have built some really compelling stories, and learn about the arcs and learn about how people tell, and also watch people. I am very, very, always just very impressed by, Steve Jobs and his communication and his way to simplify and take complex things and make you feel like, when you can make someone, like, what does a good Disney movie do, right? They make you feel something. When you can make someone feel an emotion, when you can make them go through a roller coaster of ups and downs, that's when you have a really good, compelling story, right? And so and then another great way is that you can pull from your own stories and relate them to people, right? We just naturally like to hear of other people's stories if there's some sort of connection, right? And help people make that connection, because sometimes it's hard. We don't always make the connection, right? So that's a couple, but I agree. I mean, that's actually my list of my AMA list of the top superpowers that I wrote down. I think I had that was number one, is be an effective storyteller, communicator. And I'll tell you, I was not at all before, and that grew with practice and just observing people too, right? Like observing the emotion that I go through and all that stuff, and actually just watching. I find watching movies actually does help, because you can, but watch it from the lens of not just being entertained, but being like, how are they doing this? How am I actually feeling right now? What are they doing to me? Oh, okay. Here's the part where they're, be a critic and really say like, oh, I'm feeling sad. Why am I feeling sad? Oh, it's because they made this connection to my past or whatever, right? Okay. I'm feeling happy. Why am I feeling happy right now? Oh, it's because they they brought me into this high, and oh, they're bringing me down. Like, you know, just analyze, be a critic of actual movies too. Cool.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was definitely great.
Sweet. All right. So we have a few more folks who I haven't gotten to, and I know people are dropping off, so I appreciate you guys sticking with me. Let's see. So I got through everyone. I know Nimit and Vinod. I know we talked last time. Did I get through everyone besides Nimit and Vinod? I know. Hold on. Okay. Or
Yancy.
Yancy, did I get your question? I don't think I got it.
Not yet.
Oh, okay. So let's go to you and your question, and just a brief something about yourself, and we'll go right into it. So let me see if I find. Do I have you here? I don't see you in the questions. Can you restate your question after you share who you are, and we'll go into that.
Yeah. Sounds good. Well, first of all, thank you so much for sharing your experience with me, with us. I know that we are going over time, so I will make my introduction really quick. So I'm currently a senior data analyst at a consulting firm. I have around 2 years of experience. So in the past year, I got really lucky to actually be a product manager for an internal website at my company. And I just found myself in love with the product manager role because I got to work with developers, designers. It's like a really cross-functional role. And I can also have some side of my data analyst role there, but also kind of combine my interest in design in this role. So currently I'm actively looking for jobs, but then I think a lot of jobs require, 4 years of experiences. And as regard to me, I only have maybe 1 year of product manager experience. So one of my questions is, should I apply for those jobs? Are the experience requirements definitely mandatory? And then my other question, I think you probably have already answered, is how can we prepare for PM interviews? I actually read the Crack, Decode and Conquer, and I think that's a really good book. But just in general, like how do we want to craft our stories? I think you already answered, Sue.
Yeah.
Yes. And then, yeah.
Keep going.
And then last question is, how important is the cover letter? Should we include the cover letter in every job application?
Got it. Okay. So I'll restate a couple more so that I remember. So first question was, should you still apply even though it says 4 years of experience, even though you have 1? Second is, sorry, I got the third, which was the cover letter, and the second one was, one more time?
Oh, how can I prepare for PM interviews?
Okay. So, yes. This is a good question. The 1 year versus the 4 year kind of requirement. So I will say that this is tough, right? As a hiring manager, if I put 4 years, most likely I'm gonna look for people who are 4 years, right? I mean, I put it down for a reason. I want someone who's pretty seasoned, and 4 years versus 1 year is gonna be a good way. Now, does that mean that your chances of ever getting to that role are gone? No, right? I think in a way you can show that you have, somewhat 4 years of experience by the number of things you're doing on the side, right? And what do I mean by that? So there's always people that are in need of projects and product managers, I believe, right? It's actually one of the reasons why I'm helping people with product management, is because I feel like, you guys can actually help other business owners or smaller businesses or startups or whoever, right, to build up their expertise and their skills. Oh, I think, can you guys go on mute if you're not talking? Just there we go. So the answer to your question is, I don't want to, this is hard, right? Because I want to say you shouldn't, but at the same time I tell you you should. Only go for that company or that job, that role, if you really, really you really believe in the company and you really want to, see yourself in that role. So you have to prove it. So you have more against you, is basically what I'm saying, right? But again, if you can show people that you have the experience and you've done the work, this is the one thing that people don't do enough, right? I get people who are looking for 4 years, quote unquote, 4 years of experience. But they don't show me. They're talking to me like, yeah, I've done this and this and that. But they don't show me that they have 4 years of work. They're like, their skill set is, when I check the boxes, they don't have it. I don't see it. You can literally, with 1 year of experience, can check all the boxes and show people that you have all the skills, and maybe they're not even going to worry about the 4-year thing, right? That's why I tell you, I don't want to tell you to don't apply, but I also want you to be aware that in order for you to go around that, you have to beef up other things, right? So you have to showcase more of your expertise in other ways. And if you don't have it, then you gotta go find some of it, right? I have a couple of people right now actually who are in need of product managers, and they're looking to, they're looking for someone to help with their products, right? Small businesses, startups. One is actually a friend of mine. He's got a site, and they're looking for people. So if you guys are interested in opportunities and you want to hone in on your product skills a little bit more, build up more experiences, and actually have a problem to solve, reach out to me after this, and I'll give you guys some people that will connect, right? So I think that's one of the great ways is just keep practicing, right? I love fitness. I love exercising because it keeps me strong. And I think as product managers, we also have to be in that same way. We have to exercise. We have to exercise our skills, our mind, our empathy, our communication, our ability to connect, right? All that. We have to continue to exercise those things. And the best way to do that is actually having a problem to solve. So that's a long answer for, for that question. Hopefully that answered that. How to prepare for interviews. Yes, there's a lot of great interview questions. I'm thinking about actually doing it. If you're interested, and if other people are interested, I'm probably going to do some sort of mock interview style, session as well. And if that's something you want to do, let's do it. Let's set it up, and I'll have a lot of questions, and we'll just go through them. The best way to prepare is to practice. Honestly, right? I'll give you some questions. The Decode and Deconquer has a lot of great questions. Try them out. I think one of the tactics that they talk about as well in there is, every day as you're going throughout your life, just think about what are the problems, what would you do to solve it, and all this stuff, right? That's a great way on the day-to-day basis. But if you want to actually, in real time, how to prepare for interviews, I'll do a session and we can do mock interviews. And the third, cover letter. Cover letter, I think you can. I actually have included cover letters as a way to, again, stand out, because not a lot of people do sometimes. But the cover letter should not just be a mirror image of your resume. It should literally be something that stands out. It's a little bit more about your story and why your story resonates with that company, right? In text form. If you want to really stand out, and I always believe people should stand out a little bit more than their peers, right? Maybe do a little video, record yourself, right? And include that as the cover letter, right? Or include, again, these other things, like the traditional interview cover letter. I feel like those are going out the door, because I could literally pay someone right now to write a resume and a cover letter that is pristine, right? Everything that you want, it's all written perfectly. and the person will eat it all up. But if you can't, like, if it comes game time and you can't communicate and you can't show your skills and you can't handle the pressure, then you're not gonna cut it, right? So putting yourself in those experiences, in those moments, is the best way to really get yourself to the next level. Cool?
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, awesome. All right, my two buddies, Vinod and Nimet, I know you guys hung around. Thank you guys. So for those of you who don't know these guys, they were actually in my first mentorship call that I did about, I think it was 3 weeks ago, maybe. And they're here, so I appreciate you guys coming back. Thank you guys so much. We'll go with you in a minute. Is there a specific question you want to ask, and then we'll go into it.
I think I'll also take very less time to quickly introduce myself to everybody else.
Yeah.
So I have around 2 years of experience working now. I am an electronics and communications engineer. I worked with BCG for 1.5 years as a data analyst, and been working as a data engineer and business analyst for Swift. I had the awesome opportunity to switch roles to a product manager about 2 weeks ago. So just focusing on how the second part of the puzzle, I'd say. The first part I've gone through to get to the PM role. Now is figuring out how to be a successful PM. So my question, and I think I had a few, but I think we've talked about some of them earlier as well. So I'm, in the interest of time, I'm going to skip those. But one thing that I'd like to ask you is, how do you develop that ruthless prioritization skill as a PM? And how do you prioritize what kind of frameworks or what kind of techniques you use to do that? What kind of inputs do you take from your stakeholders or from your dev team? And basically, how do you keep everybody happy while doing that? Because a lot of times you're going to have to say no to a lot of people. So how do you keep those relationships going with your stakeholders while kind of telling them that, we don't have maybe the bandwidth to do what you want, but maybe we can reevaluate your desire for the product after the backlog is cleared. So how do you go about doing that? Yeah.
So prioritization is always a tough thing. I think I wrote that in my AMA. It's probably one of the toughest things as an individual contributor. How do you prioritize, especially if it's like speed versus quality, right? I believe that I like to use there's a framework I think called the RICE framework, and let me just pull it up here. Let me share my screen. It helps to identify is RICE prioritization. It helps to, it's like a way to score, right? So this is a more mathematical, if you like math, right? It's a way to score priorities based off of the reach. So the factor of like, what is it this thing like what's the reach of this thing, this feature that, is it a high reach? There's a lot of people that it could impact. Okay, that's probably gonna get a higher score. Well, it's not really. It's probably a few, 15. So okay, it's a lower score. All right, impact. What's the impact? You can score that as well. Confidence, the confidence level that it can get done. Let's say your tech team is like, oh, I know exactly how to do this. Okay, 100% confidence. Or this is low. I don't know how to do this. We're gonna have to investigate. We're gonna have to explore. Oh, low confidence, right? Another score element. Effort, right? And that's kind of like the combination of those. So that's a great way if you want to look into that. Definitely look in more. I use that. We as a team at our startup, we use Product Board, and Product Board is a tool, right? It's a road mapping tool, but it also allows you to do these actual prioritization calls, these scoring, very easily through their built-in scoring mechanisms, right? So I'll let you take a look at that. I know we're running out of time, but Product Board is a great tool that has all of that, right? Is the other part of your question related to, you know, stakeholder management. And this is a good question, because it is about negotiation. I always believe that it's hard to make everyone happy. And I think you shouldn't try to make everyone happy, right? What you should try to do is try to explain and use data to help with the decision that you're making and the negotiation, right? It is a negotiation. And by that I mean, you know, let's say marketing, they need something fast, right? They need a page up and running in a day, and development is saying I can't do this, this will take 5 days, right? With their own current priorities. Okay, let's take a step back, right? How do we negotiate this, right? What are we going to trade off? So let's say the development team, as they're doing the right thing, they're building, and they have a trajectory of like, if they were to do this thing, it'll take them 5 days because they have other stuff they have to do. Got it. They have other priorities. Now you go to whoever and you say, if you know the value, if this page has to go out, and you know, because it could have a high impact to the business, it can make the users' lives better. Like there is a driver to this, right? A true driver. Then you have to negotiate, and you have a trade-off. As a product manager, you have to say, okay, what are they currently working on? What can I take out that allows me to put this in, right? Because we don't get more hours in the day, right? Like that's not the solution. You can't just say, oh no, you know, you have to make trade-offs. You have to say, what can I take out and what can I put in place? Right. And so you, as a product manager, I think you have to kind of have the, you know, the gut feeling of what are these other things that the team is working on? How can I move them out of place for a little bit for this product or this feature to be worked on, and then move it back in, right? Kind of have to play almost like a game of move the puzzle around, right? And it is a negotiation. It is a truly negotiation. And yes, saying no is hard, but it's got to be said sometimes, right? Let's say you can't, right? Like the things that are being worked on right now are even higher priority. Like they have more impact, they have more reach. Then that's the reality, right? But maybe you find alternatives. I always believe you should always try to find alternatives and options. Give people options. You can give the people option. Like let's say marketing, you tell marketing, okay, we can't do it to you in a day, but we'll give it to you in a day and a half with this stipulation. Or like I always try to find 3 options. Give people options. And then they can then choose based off those options which is best for their specific need. Cool?
Got it. Thanks.
Awesome. All right. And then last, but certainly not least, thank you again for joining. I appreciate you sticking around and coming again. What's your question, and just a quick intro for yourself so everyone knows who you are.
Thanks, Rich. Hi, everyone. I come from an engineering background. I have almost 15 years of experience with mostly on the product development and the product the design. Over the last few years, I'm working as a product manager in an enterprise organization. So typically in a large organizations, we do have our own product management process, and we have our own EPO concepts, right? Bringing in new strategies would always be a challenge. So as a part of one of my career goals, I always been emphasizing on bringing on new things and learning new technologies or new tools, but it obviously becomes very challenging to adapt those new learnings in an enterprise organizations, right? So how can I exercise those product management skills outside the organizations by taking a project, right? That is one thing that I'm looking to seek your advice on the opportunities to exercise my learning by taking up an additional project outside my the regular job.
Yeah, I think you should help me and my other friends who need product managers. That's what I think. Like I said, I've kind of come to the realization that the best way for, especially for people yourselves who are wanting to build up more, and you guys, it's hard sometimes, right? And I get it. How do you work on projects if you don't know what to work on, right? Like where's really a need? And I'll tell you that there's always a need, right? And it's just a matter of connecting. So what I'll do after this is let's connect, and I'll find I have already there's 4 different people that I know who are in need of someone to help them with their products, right? And this is, websites, this is, small businesses. There's one of them is, like I said, is a startup, right? They're just looking for people to help. And if you really want to bring those expertise, those skills, right? And this is what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to help, like, I'll kind of oversee. I'll be like in a way, like, it's almost like an apprenticeship, if you will, right? So we can together tackle this. So instead of just me doing it, it'll be you, right?
Yeah.
And me doing it together, right? So that way it's like, okay, I can learn, you can learn, and then, I can help share, vice versa, right? Because like at the end of the day, like I'm just one person, and a lot of people, like, they want my help, right? And I don't have enough time in the day to do that. But I know that what I can do is I can help train people. I can help, give people opportunities, and you guys can learn and build yourselves up that way. And then also serve and help my other friends that need stuff. Does that sound good? Sure. If I can find that for you, we can do that.
Yeah, sure. I think let's do that. I'm looking forward to closely work with you. Thanks a lot.
Awesome. All right. So it's been 2 hours, and I know I said only for 1 hour and a half, but I just want to say one last thing. Thank you guys so much for joining. As far as next steps, like I think I've kind of mentioned it already in some of the, throughout the questions. I am planning on doing this on a reoccurring basis. It's going to be like an actual program, mentorship program, where you can come to me. Again, similar style. We'll ask questions. I'm going to tweak it. I'm still kind of figuring it out. I don't know if I'll do all the intros in the beginning, because I think I like it. I do like it because I get to learn and know you guys if I've never met you, but it does take up a lot of time. So I'm still going to work out the format. But anyways, I'm going to continue to do these sessions, and I'm trying to get more people. So, one thing I'll ask is that, if you have friends or if you know people on Slack or whoever, right? Like just, let them know that I'm doing this. That's number one. It's help to share this with more people. Number 2, if you guys are interested in continuing this, I'll give you more information after this about how we can do this more often. I know a lot of people were asking about different times because a lot of time zone differences. So I have to find out what are right times for right people. So that's another thing. Ultimately, I am working on a course. Actually, I'm building a course right now, all about some of the things that I'm sharing. It's going to be, very, very organized into like the steps that, I've taken, and, different skills and stuff like that, links, all that. So I'm working on that. So if you're interested in that, let me know, and I'll get you like, discounted rate at that. And then lastly, I actually did mention this, right? I am looking for people, people, if you guys want to build up your product experience, if you guys are entrepreneurial mindset you have a mindset of being an entrepreneur one day, and you just want to kind of like be around more entrepreneurs and stuff like that, then I'm going to be building up another thing for that, where I find opportunities, we work together, and so it's kind of like a given, I share knowledge, you go off and do it, or even you just go do it, right? You just need the opportunity. And we work together, we kind of hash things out, and then, you know, it could, I'm still kind of thinking like, is it going to be a paid gig or not? Like a lot of my friends are just like, they just want help. And I'm still kind of figuring out if that's going to be like paid or not. I think at the end of the day, it's all about experience. The reason why I've gotten to where I am is because of the experience that I've gained and because of how I've learned, and I continue to learn, I continue to practice. Because here's the other thing, right? We could spend all time just learning, right? Just reading and just watching stuff and not do anything at all. But that will have nothing, it won't do anything for you guys, right? I think the best way to succeed, and this is actually in one of the books that I'm reading right now called The Laws of Success by Napoleon Hill, talks about in order to succeed, you have to, you know, have a lot of different traits and personalities, and you have to have a mastermind group of people that are all looking and going forward in the right direction. You have to do things in motion. Like there's a lot of things you have to do. And if you're not doing them, you know, you could be the smartest person in the world, but not successful because you're not implementing those things into place, right? So if any of those things are exciting to you, if you guys are interested, you know, I'm going to send like a survey at the end and you guys can let me know. But ultimately, that's where I'm going, right? And hopefully you guys can join me on this journey. I found my purpose, I believe, after I went to a Marvel. I'm so blessed. Like, this is amazing. Thanks to my wife. I credit her for this. But we got to go see the Avengers Endgame premiere in the Los Angeles Convention Center. And I got to see the movie, the Avengers Endgame movie, with the actual celebrities. Like, they were there, the movie stars, they were there. I got to meet, you know, I met what's her name, oh my gosh, I'm blanking. I definitely met Joe Russo. I met oh my gosh, I'm blanking. I met a lot of these guys, and it was in that movie though that I realized that my purpose in the world is to help people unlock their own superhero themselves. Because I think we all have these like gifts, and it's our minds that tell us that we can't, or whatever, right? It's you know, we don't realize them, we don't actualize them. And especially with product manager, I think we have this, you know, if those who want to be product managers have this desire to potentially make the world a better place and change the world and make it better. And that's really what this world needs right now, is just more people to solve problems and to help. And I think by me unlocking these, you know, unlocking your own superhero powers, just like in the movie, in the Avengers, and hopefully I don't ruin this for people, but they all come together and they make you know, they are able to conquer and able to win against the evils in the world, right? And so that's what I want to do, is I want to help you guys realize your own gifts and your own superhero strengths in product management, in life, as an entrepreneur, right? So that way you can go off and do and be a better person for the whole world, right? So that's what I'm all about. And I just want to say thank you again one more time. And, you know, hopefully this has been helpful. I'll share the video with you guys. Watch it. I know Nimit had done that, and he found some really good value from it after watching it again, writing things down. So that is my sign off. Thank you guys.
Thank
Thanks,
you
Rich.
so much. Bye.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks a lot, Rich. Talk to you soon.
Yep. Sounds good. Bye-bye.